Welcome, guys, to the U.S. Power Podcast. This is our first ever podcast. We're so excited to be doing this. This podcast is going to be all about the revolutionary technology of solar and the energy revolution that's occurring right now across the United States. We're here headquartered in Los Angeles, California. Though we have recently opened up another office in Arizona, and our most recent location is now in Florida. So if you're listening in from Florida or Arizona, we would love to do a complimentary design for you to go solar. But this podcast it's going to be to talk about how solar works, the benefits of going solar, the technology in the marketplace right now, and then the different types of deals. We're also going to talk a lot about stuff that doesn't have anything to do with solar. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about
culture,
life, what's happening in the world.
Things, yeah.
So, I mean, the main focus of this podcast is going to be around the energy industry, especially for residential energy. So, basically getting off grid, or if you're, a grid tied system, getting into a program where it's called net energy metering, or battery backups for your home, or closed looping your home. So mainly solar, but then also economics. Peter, myself, specifically, not only have a degree in renewable energy, but an undergraduate in economics. So we're very fascinated by economics and all different subjects about the dollar, the U.S. dollar, where that's at. A lot of blockchain stuff that we like, AI. So there's a lot to unravel in the U.S. Power Podcast. But the main purpose of this podcast is about the energy revolution and how, one of the most important things you can make as an American, if you own a home, is and you have good sun, is going solar. There's no reason for you to be paying an electric bill right now.
No reason to pay your utility.
And there's a lot of ways to do it. It's not just a bunch of money up front. You can do
I think the simplest way is saying, if you own your home, why would you rent your electricity, right? So just keeping it simple for the audience. Solar is the fastest growing, piece of the energy industry right now, and it's going to overtake fossil fuel, oil, natural gas.
And it already has. It already has. Yeah, I think last year solar became the cheapest form of energy in the world. So
That's
we're
crazy.
December 2023
That's
right now. Yeah, sometime in 2022, early 2022. Might have been late 2021.
Is that like worldwide?
So worldwide.
Okay.
So this isn't for residential, but worldwide solar energy, or photovoltaics, right? It's the fancy word of saying solar. Like photosynthesis, photovoltaics.
Yeah.
Became the cheapest form of energy on the planet. So it's cheaper than nuclear, cheaper than oil, cheaper than hydro. It is now worldwide the cheapest way to produce any form of electricity, not just clean.
Cleanest,
coal, it's cheaper than coal. So
it's cheap and clean.
Clean.
That's how the world has to adapt. The world has scarce resources and ever-growing population.
Yep.
The only way to keep up with that is not to use more, but use something that can be used indefinitely, like the sun.
I always like to say to customers, the sun's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's going to be here for another 5 billion years, supposedly.
Yeah.
Hopefully by then we're off on Mars and other places. We're big expansionists here, so we're big believers that also we can get into this in future episodes. But I believe that we're not just destined for this world.
Why don't we go into it now?
Yeah, you want to talk about
go into it now? Yeah, tell the audience what we have going on.
Well, it's one of the things about U.S. Power too is we're a very spiritual organization. So we, I like to tell a lot of our new salespeople that this is our Bible, right? So believe in God and all that. But I'd rather knock on someone's door and discuss the benefits of going solar with them, and how much money they could save, and how they can theoretically, in reality, save the world, save the planet. We're in California. We have more fires on record this year than any time ever in history. And every single year, that number continues to grow. So, we're at a breaking point right now. I know there's a lot.
How do these fires start?
Well, we get all these. Really anything. The big ones that we heard about were PG&E. PG&E 2 years ago over in Paradise. Those were power lines that fell in the woods and caused a fire.
Caused a fire, Smokey the Bear.
Exactly. And that's the other thing that's going to start to happen is as everyone goes solar, there's going to be a and this is, you could argue this all day long, but the grid is going to become less and less valuable. We won't need as much of a grid. And so for folks right now that have solar just panels and they don't have battery backup, they do need a grid. And the reason they need a grid is because when the sun goes down at night, your panels don't work, right? So you pull energy off the grid, and you're going to pull from credits that you accumulate during the day. That's what we call net energy metering, right? In California, 90% of California just changed the law, so they went into a new program called NEM 3. Now, if you're listening to this and you're in Glendale, you're in Burbank, California, you're in LADWP, you're in Pasadena Water and Power, Anaheim Water and Power. Those are like 5 of the utilities. There's a few more little utilities scattered throughout California that are called municipality-owned utilities. And those utilities still grandfather customers into net energy metering where you don't need a battery, right? And it's the big monopolies, basically the Rockefellers of the utility business, PG&E, SDG&E, which is San Diego Gas and Electric, and Southern California Edison. Those PG&E and SCE, Southern California Edison, those are the 2 largest utilities in the world. In the world. There is no, because California. But California is the largest market for energy. Yeah. They're the largest markets they're the largest companies, privately owned companies in California. And they have so just basically unlimited power. It's just full-on monopoly. And what happened here in California, and this was big news, was March 14th of this year, 2023, was the cutoff, meaning that there's an organization in California called the CPUC, which means California Public Utility Commission, and it's a board of 4. So there's
4 people,
4 guys who sit. 4 guys sit on this board and make all the decisions, for 30 plus million people in California. Or no, more than that. How many people are here in California? Like 80 million?
Probably like
30
800 million. Like 800
no,
million. You want me to look it up right now?
The population of the U.S. is only like 360, 400 million. Yeah, California, I'm pretty sure, is like 35 million-ish people, if not more. It might be like 50 million. I know it's one of the most.
I think we're like 30.
I think we're the most.
39.24 million.
Okay, 40 million people
in 2021.
So and again, that's for the 90% of California. So for about 35 million people, 4 men are making the determination on how they're going to buy and sell power between customers, residents. And what happened is, because they're losing so many customers to our industry, right, the residential solar business, they basically said, okay, you can still go solar, but we're not going to buy back your surplus energy that you produce during the day at the same rate that we charge you, right? So now customers, in order for the deal to make sense, they need batteries, because the utility is not going to buy back your excess electricity. And just to give you a little ratio, so originally they used to buy it back at 32 cents. The average cost of electricity in California with Edison was around 32 cents. And I'm from Ohio originally, very cheap energy over there, coal mostly. Our average cost per kilowatt hour, and that's how you measure electricity in the solar business, in the energy business, is a kilowatt hour, was 7 cents. 7 cents on the Midwest.
No, that was back in the day, or like
no, that's now.
No, that's now.
Yeah, so if you're in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm originally from, your average cost per kilowatt hour is about 7 cents. Now, if you're in like a fancy neighborhood downtown somewhere, you may be at 10, 11 cents. But
is that based off of what's that number based off of? Like how much energy people are using in that area?
It depends. So every utility across the country, it's different. Right, so it's different no matter where you're at. It's different
how it's rated.
Yeah, so some utilities use a volume transaction, a tiered transaction, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which means the more energy you use, the higher your rate goes up. Right, so if you're using a lot of electricity, then theoretically you're a good customer, right? If I go to Costco and I buy a ton, the reason I go to Costco is because I buy bulk, I get a better price. Yeah. It's opposite in the energy business.
Shout out everyone for Costco membership.
Yeah, we love Costco.
We love Costco.
So, but not
And-
but not Sunrun.
And
who's in
and
Costco.
talking, yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up.
That's
Like
the only
talking
thing.
about
Stay away
Costco.
from
Like-
away from Sunrun.
Like some of you guys
You
going to
know.
Costco, you guys might see solar. Like
Yeah,
that's
you might see solar. That's really
it's
bad
not
solar.
us.
That's all
I
third
wouldn't-
party.
yeah. I mean,
we do not promote that. So
I mean, yeah, we'll just go explicit.
and if
here,
you
like,
want solar, if you want a quote, this is, go to our website
yeah,
or call the number 818-650-8010. We'd be happy to do that. We're a SunPower Elite dealer. We've been working.
what does elite mean? Tell
So
us.
this means we're one of their top dealers in America. I've been selling for SunPower for around 12 years.
Right.
Basically I started selling solar when I was 15 in Cleveland. So my
15,
dad owned an
crazy.
electric company.
Right.
Actually, it was my grandpa's
Was
electric.
it a solar electric company? or
No,
like
it was.
electric?
We were called a manufacturer's rep. So solar, we got into
Was
when-
part of the channels.
it was the newest part
Right.
of the business.
Yeah.
Basically, I was talking to my dad about it when I was a kid, and my dad was like, "Hey, this is actually an up and coming business." And back in the day, we were what's called a manufacturer's rep. So our business was we represented companies like the Cleveland Clinic or Sherwin-Williams or Lincoln Electric. What are some other big? Swagelok, Eaton Corporation. These are major big manufacturers in the northeastern Ohio area
Yeah.
that we had as accounts. And
Right.
we were basically, these were engineered applications. So like if they needed conveyor belts, we'd sell them conveyor belts. If they
Right.
needed valves, we'd sell them valves. If they needed AC induction motors for their equipment, we would sell them that. We would basically sell them whatever they
Sell them
needed.
anything you could get your
Anything
hands
they
on.
needed, we
Yeah.
would sell them.
Yeah.
And
True
finally,
salesperson.
we were blue.
You find the customer
we
first.
find
you
the-
find the demand first, and
we,
then find
and
the
we would call
supply.
them accounts. It'd always be like my dad would
Accounts.
say, "Take me to this account. Take me." And I was his driver basically when I was. He was
Yeah.
a.
And you had
it
a
was
so
funny
it looks
story.
like you had a.
He was a bit of an alcoholic, so he couldn't. He was the best sales guy in the world, but he had finally lost his license. So
Right.
I had to drive him around to these meetings.
He had a
because
DUI.
He did.
It's
He did.
like
He did.
Robert
He did.
Downey Jr.
He did,
like,
but he was the best salesman ever, right? And,
Of course,
and
every
he was a great, and he wasn't like there's sales guys out there that are like,
they gotta have their vice.
they're not good people.
Yeah.
They they'll trick you. They'll say like this. My dad was like an angel. Like people loved him.
Just
He was
dealt with a devil in a bottle.
he just liked to drink.
Yeah.
He loved to have a good time, and he just liked to have. Unfortunately, that took him at an early age. He died when he was 57.
Uh-huh.
So
How old were you?
27.
27?
Like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
So about
Right.
yeah, like 8 years ago, something like that. So
Yeah, gotcha.
too young, but bottom line, he taught me a lot about the business and sales in general. But
I feel like every salesperson has like their vice though. Like if they're really good, like you have like one thing that
every
you need to, like,
human has a
spaz
vice.
out on.
Oh, of
like
course.
I mean, if people have seen Wolf of Wall Street, like Quaaludes, like
Yeah.
anything that guy could put his hands on, he was the
Would.
best.
Well, yeah.
But anything he could put his hands
He-
on,
he
you
did.
know,
Yeah.
and Jordan Belfort, the guy that everyone knows Leo played in the movie, like he's a real person. By the way, this is not fictional. I mean, it's exaggerated a little bit, but it's a real person.
Right.
I've met him before in person.
Yeah.
He's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
100%
I
as
remember you said
crazy.
he
like
talks a lot.
he talks a lot.
He's like,
yeah.
you can't, like,
you
can't
see the
even get a word in.
craziness in his eyes. Like you look at him and all you see is like flames. Like
Yeah.
just like, what the hell is this guy gonna get me into?
Right.
Like that's what you're thinking. But
Right.
to say is that every salesperson like has their escape, like which is like it's a real stressful job. It's a very
It is.
stressful, position, and you get a lot of highs and lows. I think that's what drives a lot of people to have these fluctuations in their mood and like
Right.
their tendencies, is because sales is a very high and low job.
Yeah.
You'll have the lowest of lows, and then you'll have the highest of highs,
Yep.
right? So that does a lot to your head sometimes,
Yeah.
and if you don't
Yeah.
make yourself stable, build yourself a good community and good network, family
Family.
around you, family. Very, very most important, then you're going to lose yourself in that.
Yeah.
So I
And
think
that's what happened to him. So he was, he had a great family, everything, but it just the
Sure.
demons got the best of him.
for sure.
But it was a blessing for me, and we can, you guys are gonna get to know me eventually through this podcast. But I don't drink alcohol.
How long have you been sober?
I've been sober since he passed.
Since
So
he
the
passed,
day
like
he passed,
8 years
the day
ago.
he passed away, I never picked up another drink,
Wow.
and my life changed. Like I was
Wow.
mediocre. I was always
in
good.
in life.
In life, anything I did. Like I've done some acting. I was always selling something, whether it be gold, solar. Solar. The first solar system I sold, 15 years old. I did the Cleveland Clinic.
Right.
We did their whole finance center with my dad.
There's a commercial.
So I started in the commercial.
How much was that? Like that?
How much was the system? This cost of the system. I remember it wasn't a huge system. It was, but it relatively it was. I want to say it was like 200 kilowatts. It was a nice big system.
200 kilowatts.
Yeah,
and like explain to them like kilowatt to like roughly how much money is that? Like a kilowatt.
Yeah, well back then it was a little more because the price of solar hadn't come down yet. So, on average right now for a good high-end panel, and that was a Solar World. So back then we were repping Solar World, which SunPower actually bought. No, SunPower bought them. Okay. I think 2012, 2014, something like that.
Right.
SunPower bought them, bought their factory over in Oregon, which the racking, I believe the racking is still made there for Equinox, Invisimount, SunPower, which we sell. That's where the racking equipment is made at least. But, I don't remember the contract price. I believe it was a little over, it was like maybe a little under $1 million, like $800,000, $900,000 system. It was for their finance center. So it wasn't offsetting it fully, but it was a nice chunk of the roof. Of course, and they wanted to be green.
Right.
And there was good incentives back then in place. There still are. There's a 30% federal tax credit right now, which was the same tax credit that they got back then. And that was 2015. I'm 34 right now. I was 15. Man, that was like 19 years ago.
19 years ago was still 30%.
I believe so. I mean, there was some subsidies, but I believe there was that 30% tax
And
credit.
so, like the tax credit, I know that it went down.
It did.
It went down a couple years ago, to what was it, like 28, 26%?
Well, so it's basically, a few years ago it was 30, then it went to 26. The year before last year, it went from 26 to 0. Then there was like a minute where it was gone.
Right.
Like we were like, okay, it's gone
Right,
now.
it's gone.
And then the Biden administration came into power and they immediately reinstated it back to 30%. So we never really lost the tax credit, which is amazing.
Right. Yeah,
that's a huge, because what's happened is that that credit was in place really to subsidize the solar business. So the reason now there's still, depending on where, like if you're in Illinois, there's some great subsidies still. I think it's like another 30%. We're not selling in Illinois.
We have a friend company on social media, very very dear to our heart. That's based in Illinois.
Yeah.
They're also SunPower rep. Sun and Us. Shout out Sun and Us.
Shout out to Sun and Us. Yeah, but Illinois is a great one of the really nice. If you're basically looking to have your solar fully paid for,
go to Illinois. Move to Illinois. I'm from Illinois. I'm from Chicago.
Exactly. So close to Cleveland.
I'm from Chicago.
Ohio's not. Ohio's like the opposite.
They're all Midwest.
Yeah.
What do you mean opposite?
Well, it's just like, it's hilarious. The Chicago and Illinois are just like, they're like twin cities basically.
Yeah.
Except that Chicago,
we have water. Does Ohio have water?
Cleveland's right on the lake.
Oh,
it's the same. Literally, it's the same
lake.
City.
Not the Great Lakes. No,
it's on Lake Erie.
It's on Lake Erie.
So the Chicago and Cleveland are the same city. The reason why Chicago is much bigger and a little bit more badass, is because Chicago developed their lakefront.
Got you.
So the developing community, the
real
estate business owners,
the waterfront,
and the city, they developed the lakefront where Cleveland has not. And there's a few
slacking.
It's very much slacking. They've done an okay job. They redid the flats. I know the the Wolstein family redid the flats. There's a family called the Paces. They're redoing a portion.
Is that one of the Pacers? Or no, that's Indiana.
No,
Never
that's
mind.
their
Paces.
name. They're a real estate family in Cleveland that's redoing like the area around the stadium and all. But the whole major, basically the FBI owns.
What?
The FBI owns all the good lakefront. They have an airport that nobody uses there. So that's the problem. Is that no one's gone to the FBI and
been like, "Yo,
deal.
Give our shit back."
Dude, I always say, if I'm getting in real estate, I'm going to Cleveland, I'm going to develop that lakefront. Yeah.
Take that thing.
So long story short, because we were changing topics. So cost of the system back then was much higher. The solar, basically the solar industry has substantially I mean, almost by like 90%. I don't know if that going back that far, but basically from when this industry was founded back in the 50s. Now, the residential business didn't really take off until the 80s, 90s, right? That was when residential solar started happening. I would say early 90s, there was solar installs that started happening. SunPower, our partner, they were founded in 1985, and they are the oldest American solar company. So they're 39 years in business, 38 and a half years, almost 39 years in business.
Wow.
That they were the first to really, build out the residential market here in America. Some of the other early companies were Solar City. That was Elon Musk's cousin.
Elon Musk's cousin. If a lot of you guys didn't know, Elon Musk has cousins.
Yep, who were also
and
pretty green.
And one of them found Solar City like years ago.
2 of them actually.
2 of them.
Yeah, they found it and
isn't he from South Africa?
Yeah, they're all from the same.
So they like came to the States and
yeah, I just read that book, which is a good book. I'm a big Elon fan.
Elon wrote a book?
Yeah. I just read his book. Yeah, and I used to work for him too. I used to work for Tesla. Yeah, so we can go into that a lot. But that was my first job out of college. I was working for Tesla Motors, we used to call it Stressla. And we used to call it Stressla. It was a very stressful job. I loved it though. I was on the front lines. I was a product. I was just making phone calls.
Right.
But that was the job where
were you drinking during this time?
I was.
You were.
Yeah, I was.
That's how you got through that shit.
Yeah, I actually I was telling one of our workers here a story about. I came to work. I had the best manager ever, and I had gotten a bar fight the night before.
What?
It was New Year's Eve, and I broke my hand. Oh. And the doctor in the emergency room put a piece of metal through my finger to keep it
straight.
To keep it because it crushed bones in the hand.
Oh.
And so I came to work, but I just got this job at Tesla. And it was like my first job out of college, that real job.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to lose my job because I went out,
at a bar fight.
New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve.
Slammed some folks.
And I ended up, I was with my twin brother, and I don't even remember what happened, but that's drinking for you. That's what one of the.
And then you came in the next day.
I came in the next day, but I had a piece of metal coming out of my finger.
Like fucking Wolverine.
Yeah, just like Wolverine. And it was a thick piece of metal too. It was I remember I could scratch my you could touch stuff with it. It was legit. And my manager just loved it. He was like, dude, you're the Terminator.
Wow.
He's like, you're the because I was making almost 500 phone calls a day.
Yeah.
And our whole job was to get people into cars. Cold calling. And I was the top product specialist at Tesla in the world.
Yeah.
And the reason I could do that was, well, we'll go into that. But anyways.
This was a decade ago.
This was, about a decade ago.
A decade ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe 8-9 years ago. 8-9 years.
Was it really similar to how they're laid out nowadays? Because nowadays it's super digital. Nowadays it's super digital. I'm not sure if they still have cold call centers from Tesla, but there's a lot of it.
No, so what they do is this is for people basically when you go into a Tesla store, and you're there's people in there that are just hanging out, and those are what we call product specialists, and they're salespeople too.
Right.
So it's I forgot if they may change the thing, but you had this product specialist, and then you had the product consultants. Basically, there's a opener and there's a closer.
Yeah, lead generator
and
closer.
But the lead generators, they're basically walking the customer around, taking them out on test drives, and then when the customer is a go, they like it, then
they hand it off.
So it's a team effort, and it's not really in Tesla's more facilitating an order. You're not
they're not trying to
closing. I mean, you are closing a deal, 100%. But there's no negotiation with pricing. You can maybe knock $100 off somewhere.
Right.
They can
that's what it's very transparent.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, exactly. All the pricing is built into their software.
Yeah.
So that
there's nothing let me take this back to my manager.
Correct.
Gone for an hour and then come back with hey,
a little bit of that, especially if you're selling old inventory. So there was I remember times where it was Model S, and I think they had just launched dual motor, and so there are all these single motors still on the market that nobody wanted.
Right.
So there was some negotiation that could be done there because it was kind of old inventory, and so they were given good deals for that.
Gotcha.
But but my job was just to get people into the the test center.
How'd you get paid? How was
hourly? Hourly. It was the worst pay ever. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, Tesla's I had a guy, actually a friend of mine, who was been selling there. I'm not going to say his name, but he had sold $30 million worth
And all
of
only
Teslas, and
had
off of
only-
that, he had made a commission of around 30,000.
That's crazy.
So like 100. I mean, what does that come out to? I think $100 per car commission.
$100 per car.
So
yeah.
it's just like as a salesperson, like, and he was like the most depressed guy. Like you'd see him like smoking cigarettes in the back all the time, like just like you'd go out to his area and there'd be like a pile of cigarettes.
Oh my God.
And I mean, he was a great
Nice.
guy. I mean, we
Yeah.
were all, but most of us were doing it for the mission,
Right.
right? Like we didn't work at Tesla to make money.
Yeah.
You worked at Tesla to save the world.
Yeah.
You know, like, and as someone fresh out of college, you know, at least I wasn't thinking about money. I
yeah.
wasn't, I was like, I just got to pay my rent. I could, I don't pay any. I mean, it's Cleveland, Ohio, so it's like the rent is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a girlfriend at that point,
Right.
so I was like,
And you're probably just like
I just had, I was just, I
experience,
wanted, and I wanted to be the best, and I want to work for the best company, the best car company at that time, not the best solar companies. Tesla is the worst solar company right now.
So going back to
I love Elon Musk. I'm a big fan. Elon, I love you. You're one of my heroes,
He'll see this.
And I've met him personally too. And,
When?
I applied to work at SpaceX. I was filming a show here in LA, acting and producing in a show.
Right.
And I applied to work at SpaceX, and nobody got back to me. I was pissed, so I went to the factory, and like right when I was walking up to SpaceX, Elon Musk comes walking up.
Wow. Here in California.
Here in California. And I'm like, Elon, what?
When
When was this? Man, I just come back from China. My story's kind of crazy. We'll get into it.
We'll skip to the Elon part. Yeah.
But I had just come back from China, and it was in Hawthorne, right next to the Tesla plant. So the SpaceX and Tesla are right next to each other.
Were you
Hawthorne.
living near there, or you drove all the way out
in
there?
Woodland Hills. I was living in
so
Woodland
you drove
Hills.
all the way out
over
there.
Yeah, I had a day off from the production, so it was my one day off during this 2-week film, which was a racing film called Born to Race 2 or Born to Race 1. I forgot which one, but it was a racing film. It was on Netflix. And so I drove over there, and I the first person I ran into was Elon Musk. And I'm like, Elon. He's like, hey. He was super cool too. He was so humble, so nice. And he took like 5 minutes out of his day to talk to me. And he just started grilling me about the rocket industry in China.
What?
I was like, I just got back from China. Oh, this is how it started. So I'm like, hey, Elon. My hair was really long, and I had this like weird T-shirt on with like a symbol, like the hand. With,
you were like a hippie.
Kind of like hippie.
Super
I was
hippie.
like, what's up, Elon? He's like, hey, man. And I kind of stood in front of him. And there's these big glass doors.
Was there
to get into
security with him, or
SpaceX.
just
no?
him?
Because it's the front entrance to SpaceX. There's huge. They're like 30 feet glass doors. They open automatically.
So it's literally
but
just
you have to
him.
have a key card.
Right.
So I'm standing in front. I knocked on the door. I'm knocking, trying to get in. And he comes up behind. He's like, hey, man. And that's what he said. I said, he goes, those doors are locked for a reason. I think that was the first thing he said to me. Those doors are locked for a reason. I was like, yeah. I kind of laughed. And I was like, and I said, I didn't know what to say. I was baffled.
You were like shell-shocked.
So I was like, Elon, I'm shooting racing films. I'm like, I'd love to put Tesla in our new race car film. We're shooting the shot because I was on the producing team for this racing film.
Yeah.
I was like a lowly producer, but I was also acting in it. The producers, basically said, okay, you're a good actor. We'll bring you on for the producing role too because you like the business side of stuff. And then I said, Elon, I want to represent you in Hollywood. I want to get Teslas into racing films.
Into Hollywood,
and he laughed at me. He goes, I got a lot of reps already.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
You have to be
I was
different.
like, well, I just got back from China, and I was about to get into. I did apply to work here. I'm a big space guy, and I wrote my college, like my senior thesis to graduate from college. I wrote my whole thesis was on how to terraform the planet Mars in an efficient way, right? So like I'm gung ho.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? On like terraformation, like my core belief is that a planet peoples just like an apple tree apples, right? Like our point as humans is to take care of our apple tree, our Earth, but to also spread life onto new bodies of Earth. Rather that terraformation, which we know we can do. Yeah. We're right now we're just terraforming in the wrong direction.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when your car emits a pollution, which heats up the atmosphere, that's exactly what we need to do on Mars.
Right.
We're heating because the Mars's atmosphere is too thin. It's too thin.
It's too thin.
It's cold because it can't keep heat.
Right.
The atmosphere is too thin, right? And they basically don't have a magnetosphere.
Wow.
So what we're doing here with
Is what we
emissions
should be
is
doing on
exactly what
Mars.
we need to be doing on Mars.
So
we're very good at terraforming. We know we can move Earth.
Send all of California to Mars.
Yeah, send all of the gas cars.
All of the gas cars to Mars and
then
they'll terraform it.
And we're terraforming at its
Give
best.
it a year, yeah.
At its best. Yeah, and it's good and it's actually good because
Honestly,
that heats it up, which allows moisture to be captured.
Right.
Captured moisture creates precipitation. Precipitation creates water flow. Now plants can grow, moss can grow. That hyper accelerates the oxygen environment, right? Because plants create oxygen, which even thickens the atmosphere even more. So back to Elon. What happened was so basically he just grills me about China, the Chinese space industry, because I was over there.
Because you brought up China.
I brought up China, and I was living in China doing co-productions in the film industry, right? Trying to link Chinese
and this
productions.
is all in 5 minutes that he just like.
He just started grilling me. He's like, okay, like he asked me about the spaceport in China. Have you seen any of the ships launch? I said no. He was like, how do the Chinese people feel about the space industry? He was just very interested, and he basically didn't. He started grilling me like it was an interview, and it went really well. And then he goes, because I had pitched him that I wanted to do this, and I forgot to say I applied to SpaceX to work.
Oh man, yeah.
And he's like, Eric, hey, he's like, great to meet you. He shook my hand. He said, Eric, it's so nice to meet you. I got to get to a meeting. And I was like, nice to meet you too, Elon. So great to meet you. And he fobbed, the doors open, he was gone. And I remember being like, fuck, I just met Elon. That's my hero. And then the next second I was like, fuck.
You realized.
I was like, damn it. I should have asked him.
Yeah.
I had applied to SpaceX.
For the job, yeah.
I want to sell rockets.
Right.
I want to sell this vision. I know this is the future. And anyways, that didn't happen. So,
hey.
But he was super cool. And that's why, like, at the end of the day,
we
for all the haters
here.
out there, that guy is really nice. Like he's got issues with he tweets a lot.
Yeah.
He says what's on his mind, but
he's a genius. He's a genius. He's the world's richest man.
So going back into the cost of solar, though. So back in the day when I was selling in Cleveland, and I had done a few other big, I did a 3 megawatt system that I actually got cut out of. That was an interesting one. We don't need to go into that, but that was a big system. Because I was going back and forth, and I was a kid, so some of these contractors thought they could
fuck you over,
basically screw you over,
right?
And but the cost of solar has come down substantially, almost 90%, within the last 20 years, which means it is so affordable for you don't even have to be upper, middle class. You could be lower class. You could be struggling to make electric payments right now. As long as your credit's good, if your credit's shot, unfortunately, that makes things tough. But if you have a credit score of 650 or above,
that's not hard to get.
You can go solar for zero money down, and you can either finance the system and own it, or you can do what's called a power purchase agreement, which is theoretically a lease, and just make low monthly payments on a system that generates over 100% of your power, enough for electric vehicles and heating, right? Because a lot of folks are now using solar. AC in California is the biggest consumer of electricity, but now gas is continuing to skyrocket. So a lot of our customers here at US Power, they are converting their heat from gas to electric, right? They're going with space heaters, they're going with baseboard heaters, they're going with HVAC systems that run electric heat, and so a lot of folks are sizing their systems up for AC and heating, which is a big deal. But bottom line is that it's a great time to look at it.
And not only the price has gone down, but at the same time, the efficiency of our panels, it's a slow growth. It's a what was it, 11% when we first started out. Back in the day, now it's like what, 22?
22, yeah, almost 23%.
So
yeah, 11%. It was really.
what is that like for the people that don't understand? 22%. That's so little. Like, what does that mean though?
So 22. So Peter's talking about efficiency, right? Efficiency of the cells. So like the panel right behind him, right there, that's an M series 425 watt cell. So that is SunPower's proprietary technology. Now we call it Maxeon technology because they split their manufacturing division and their installation division. So it's still owned by the same company, which is Total Energies. That's our parent company, which is the 4th largest oil company in the world.
French oil company.
French National Oil Company owns SunPower and Maxeon. But that Maxeon SunPower cell is producing at a world record 22.8% efficiency. 22.8% efficiency. And that means that out of easiest way to explain it is out of 100% of the energy. And
that is hitting that's 100% of a sunlight that's hitting a panel.
Correct.
22.8% of that energy
is converted into clean electricity.
And that's actually a lot.
Yeah, so the loss, the loss is that's a ton. And the theoretical limit is on the Earth, the theoretical limit is 30%. Now, you'll get articles all day long that say, oh, the new solar panel technology just launched at 50% or 30%. Like
bullshit.
It's all bullshit. Like the rate of change in photovoltaic solar panel efficiency is very slow. 1951, first solar cell was invented ever. Bell Labs did it here in California. That year one, it operated at 8%. By the end of the year, they're at like 11%. That's so people say anywhere between 8 and 11%. Fast forward 72 years, 2023, right? 1951 to 2023. The world record is these guys right here.
Right
M Series 425, right behind Peterson right there. That's a 425 M Series. That's the same cell that JPL uses, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Apple.
NASA, all five branches of the U.S. military, armed forces.
Yeah, which we love to say when we're talking to customers. But it's true. The U.S. Armed Forces, Air Force loves M Series. It's a durable cell, too. It's built. So, we'll show videos throughout this podcast at a later date. But it's copper backed, right? So it's very strong. You can literally bend these cells. I have an example in the other room. You can bend these cells and they don't break. So military loves them, NASA loves them, JPL loves them.
So they're the best of the best.
They're the best.
Right.
So they're the most efficient, they're the most durable, which is really important for your roof if you're in an area that's got trees or, if you or if you have a smaller roof, if you need, because if you have wide open roof, you may be able to get away with a less efficient panel. The only thing is the less efficient panels degrade over time. This degrades very, very slowly. So that's all another record that SunPower has, which is it
40-year lifespan. Like
40 plus.
40 plus.
We only say and the reason we say 40 years in corporate, like theoretically, the panels are going to go for 100 plus years.
Yeah. Why do we say
way
40?
over? We say 40 because SunPower's only been in business 40 years.
Gotcha.
So corporate says don't say
That's a good point.
Corporate's like, look, we can say 40 because we've been in business 40. We've been manufacturing them for 40 years. Yeah. So you could say 40. At the end of year 25, the performance on these is guaranteed to be 92% under contract. Mm-hmm. It's got a performance guarantee up to 92% at the end of year 25. So there's a degradation of 0.23% per year.
And that's how long the warranty is.
That's how long the warranty is.
So basically, under the warranty, you're completely covered. Product, power, service. After that 25 years, it's already guaranteed that you're going to be at least 92%.
Yeah, you're still producing. You're still producing. That's why... there's not a lot of resale value on the panels after 25 years, but they still work amazingly. And, so if you're, that's why we encourage folks that, SunPower, US Power, our systems are very affordable. We're, on the PPA, on leasing, we dominate. We're probably going to beat everybody's price. Cash or financing, if you want to own it right away, we're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive though, but we are, we're right there, we're factory direct, we're partnered directly with SunPower. So it's a SunPower contract that you sign. It's, we're
the most bang for your buck.
but you're getting the, I don't like using car terms, but you're getting the Ferrari, you're getting the Porsche, you're getting this is the Cadillac of the solar business, at the best price because it's factory direct, and the system is going to last forever. I mean, it's going to last. Your grandchildren will be enjoying the benefits of the solar system.
And that's a big decision maker for a lot of, decision process for a lot of homeowners, that, putting solar on your home is like basically buying a home. Like, it's like you're going to put this on your home that your generations will be passed down to.
Yep.
So, we know that if you're going to do it once, this is what I used to say, was like, you only go solar typically once, like make the best choice out of it. Mm-hmm. Don't go shitty, right? Don't go with something that's like, oh, it's going to save me a few bucks like in a month. Mm-hmm. Like, make sure you go for the premium.
Yep.
It's not just like something, it's not clothes, or like, it's not like a car that you buy. Like a car, you could sell it. But this one, like, it's attached to your house, so definitely have to make a smart decision with that. And SunPower is even rated on Forbes Home 2023 as the best overall solar company in the U.S.
Right. And all 50 states.
In all 50 states.
Yeah, we're in 3 of those 50, U.S. Power, and hopefully more soon. We are growing fast.
Yeah.
But, and also resale value. We like to say that when you go solar, you want it to be an asset to your home, not a liability. Right. Correct. So when even if you're not in that home for the next 10, 20 years, you may only be there 5 years. Average home ownership in California, I think 7, 8 years, something like that. You may sell the home, but when the new homeowners are coming and knocking on the door and the agents are talking, the fact that there's a SunPower system on that roof is a huge selling benefit. It's a value add, right? When you put up a cheap solar system by Joe Blow, third-party company, that has been installing for 5 years, it's all pass-through warranties, right? So all those warranties, the panels, the inverters, the racking equipment, the software that you're monitoring the system performance with, that's all separate companies, right? And each one of those companies, there's a warranty, but it's with that company that's over in China or Europe somewhere or who knows where.
Let's make it like the most extreme case out of it. If you go one of those with those Joe Blow, we call it Frankenstein, because they're made up of different parts from different companies. If one, let's just say a nail falls out of the racking, they're pointing fingers now to different companies.
Correct. And the installer's never going to take responsibility. They're going to say, hey, we just installed it. We just installed it. You have a warranty, but it's with that company. There's their 1-800 number. Good luck. Right.
And then what happens when that business that does do it go out of business?
You're screwed.
There's no one that's going to come in.
Nobody.
We actually get calls like that to us because of our search, our SEO. People will come up to us, call us about, solar. Obviously, we're only doing new installations, but we'll get like, hey, my Joe Blow, whatever, solar just broke. Like, can you guys help me out?
Yeah.
Like, well, you should have thought twice about that, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always funny. I sit with customers, very rarely do we lose deals. Cause again, we represent the best products. SunPower is the top brand, and we're their fastest growing dealer, and we work really hard. We also, as US Power, give a white glove customer experience. So it's not, hello, you never see us again. You have our cell phones. We're here every step of the way throughout the process. SunPower is handling the installation, all the warranties. We do the designing and the system, preliminary system design, and then basically hold your hand throughout the process. If you want to make any design changes, if you want to, flip from a loan to cash or from cash to a PPA, we do all the signing of the agreements. Basically, we're SunPower's direct sales force. They don't have residential boots on the ground in those.
Neither do
in
they
the
have
local
like
territories.
a marketing team for themselves,
or a marketing team, really. So we do all that for them. There's times where on the deals that I have lost, which is rare. We always want them to, I always say, hey, great, it's all good as long as you're going solar, no hate. We want, you're making the right decision regardless.
What's that quote? What's that quote that was like, it was in Wolf of Wall Street. It was like, now I always tell my customers not to judge me on the opinions of my winners, but on the opinions of my losers, because I have so very few.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Right
And
there.
and we keep it positive. We want them to we don't want them to run into issues, but the phone call ends up coming where they go, and I've had this happen to me all the time. Eric, the company, we put a down payment, the company's out of business. Within I forget the name of the company. What was that one? They're going out of business all the time, like Solar Graph or something like this. They came in, they were a few $1,000s less than we were. The customer was down to the T, decided to go with the cheap quote, and we don't take any money down, by the way, regardless of what offering you're on. We're not going to ask you for a penny. We do all the work up front. We have great cash flow. So you pay after you're a happy customer.
Right.
After the system's installed is when you put down either the first monthly payment. If you pay cash, you're going to pay 80% after the system's installed, and then the remaining 20% after it's activated, which happens in about 2 to 3 weeks with inspections. But there's no money down. So customers call and they go, Eric, we put our $1,000 down. We put then another $10,000 down to order the equipment, and then but the company's out of business. Can you help us? And it's like, no.
What do you want me to do?
We can't help you. Or we get the call that says, Eric, we hear you, we were referred to you. I'm in a tight spot. The company that installed my system isn't picking up the phone. The inverters aren't working, or the string inverter they did was sized wrong, which, like even companies like Tesla. And that's why I love Elon for the cars and SpaceX. Solar, stay away, right? Stay away. Really bad. They cut corners left and right. They don't know what they're doing.
They're very name heavy.
They've really tried to reduce the cost so much, but by doing that, they diminish themselves. They cut corners. And it's like their panels are super cheap. They use string inverters still, which are like we've been using microinverters for 12 years since I started selling SunPower systems.
And
we've been using
crazy.
Like the year I started working with SunPower, microinverters always. Right? So it's just ridiculous that they're still stuck on, and because they make a bigger margin, but the system overall is cheaper. Bottom line, we get these calls and we're just like, it just sucks. You can't do anything for them. But that's why SunPower is SunPower. That's why US Power, you're getting the best product, but and it's competitively priced, but it's It's not garbage.
Right. Of course.
It's very high end.
Of course. Well, I mean, with that, I think we basically went through a lot.
Is there anything we didn't cover? We kind of went on a few tangents.
We got a lot more time.
Was there something else that we talked about? Yeah, we basically talked about else. We'll talk more about Mars more in another later episode. We'll talk about
talk a lot more about Chinese Eric.
Chinese Eric. Big believer in
crazy life.
This is a world planetary community now. Basically, we have to all start to think as a planet.
Right.
Obviously, we love our country. I mean, we're U.S. power, right? We love the United States of America.
United States.
We're big.
Us power.
We're big.
Us power.
Americans over here.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, we're all a part of the same Earth, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like the sky is the American sky. Like it all is shared by the Earth.
I think that's
why
the
water is all shared by the Earth. So we gotta.
There's no dots between U and S. It means it's us power. It's about us. And humanity in general.
You get or united solar power.
It's interpretations. However you interpret.
Exactly.
However you interpret it. That's how spiritual we are.
Yeah.
But I would say that's like the main reason we started this podcast, because we have so many crazy, wild, but also intuitive thoughts that go around this office everywhere that we go. And this is a way for us to express that. And, I know we have a lot of a great number of engaged audience fans on our socials, on our pages. And, this is just more content to give all of you guys. And hopefully we grow US Power with all you guys at the same time.
Come back, listen to future episodes. We're so excited and grateful to have you as a follower and as a fan. Have a great day.